What if the real rulers of our planet aren't animals or plants, but the hidden network of mycelial threads weaved beneath our feet? As you drift asleep, we'll explore the curious world of fungi, from the largest organism on Earth to the fastest biological movement ever recorded, and its fascinating ability to alter minds and control bodies. So I invite you to join me as you relax and begin to absorb yourself into a reverie of today's topic. 40. The humongous fungus. There's a fungus in Oregon's Blue Mountains, which spans nearly 4 square miles. The fungus has been genetically tested, demonstrating that it's a single organism spreading out over a wider area year after year, like an ever-expanding clone of itself. Every year, mushrooms, which are the fruiting bodies of the organism, poke their heads above the surface, revealing the fungus which lies beneath. This giant fungus, Armillaria ostoia, is estimated to be nearly 2,500 years old, but it could be over 8,500 years old, which would also make it one of the oldest living organisms on the planet. The fungus primarily grows along tree roots. It's thought to be so large due to good genes and a stable environment, allowing it to slowly meander within the landscape for millennia. This genus of fungi are known as honey mushrooms due to the yellow-capped and sweet mushrooms they produce. 39. Symbiotic relationships. Often roots from multiple different trees and plants partner with fungi to form what's termed a common mycorrhizal network, a symbiotic relationship between a fungus and plant or tree roots. Fungal threads spread out to link multiple plants. This relationship can help both parties. Trees can absorb more water and nutrients from the soil, while the fungus can receive energy in the form of sugars and other organic molecules. There are studies finding that resources can be shared between trees, or that mature trees can share their resources or even send defense signals to other trees via the fungal network. These claims are challenged as there's often a lack of replicability or peer review, and often poor or no evidence supporting the claims. There's also potentially publishing bias where positive results get published, negative results don't. So some of the more extreme claims about the symbiotic relationship may not prove to be accurate. 38. Living lanterns. Imagine walking through woodland at night. As your eyes adapt to the dark, you notice a soft glow permeating the undergrowth. Did you know some fungi glow with bioluminescence, often producing a gentle, calming green light? This light is produced via different chemistry to fireflies. There are thought to be more than 120 species of fungi with this ability spanning many lineages. It's currently unclear what role bioluminescence plays in these fungi. However, it's thought that it could perhaps be used to attract spore-distributing insects, although it seems from gene sequencing that bioluminescence only evolved once in fungi and has disappeared from a number of species. So it could be that there was an evolutionary advantage in the past, and maybe it serves no specific purpose now, but also perhaps isn't detrimental to survival for the fungus. Or it's developed different benefits, or in some species still has the same benefits gained when bioluminescence appeared. 37. From mold to medicine. In 1928, in his London laboratory, Alexander Fleming noticed that a contaminating penicillium mold on a culture plate inhibited Staphylococcus bacteria. British hematologist Gwen Macfarlane described the discovery as a series of chance events of almost unbelievable improbability. Yet this discovery proved to be huge. Alexander Fleming named the active agent penicillin. He published his findings in 1929, but it proved difficult to purify penicillin at scale. It wasn't until 1943, with a collaboration between UK and USA scientists, that enough penicillin was produced to be a viable treatment option. When it came to the media, in a The Times article, initially those who worked on the discovery and subsequent purifying of penicillin weren't named. Fleming's boss wrote to the paper to inform them of the work Fleming did. Fleming was comfortable talking with the press. However, Harold Florey, the head of the team at Oxford University, refused and prohibited his team from giving interviews, leading many to believe that it was Fleming alone who was responsible for penicillin. 36. Fungi's connection to civilization. We don't often think of how closely tied fungus is to civilization. However, for millennia, there's been an intimate connection. Yeast, a single-celled fungus, has an ability to break down or ferment sugars into CO2, alcohol, or organic acids in an anaerobic oxygen-free environment. This process has been used for at least 13,000 years to create some of humanity's favourite foods and drinks like bread, cheese, yogurt, beer, cider, and wine. There's archaeological evidence for beer brewing in Israel dating back 13,000 years. Those living in China were consuming fermented rice, honey, and fruits over 9,000 years ago. And Egyptians were consuming fermented bread, beer, and dairy products over 5,000 years ago. Fermented foods and drink have an extended shelf life, so for much of human history, when we didn't have fridges or freezers, and limited access to clean drinking water, combined with no understanding or awareness of microbes, fermented products were a healthy option. 35. Fungal respiration. Fungi are closer to animals than plants. They can't photosynthesize. They respire anaerobically in the form of fermentation, or aerobically They take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide, metabolizing carbohydrates just like animals do. When talking about fungal respiration, they aren't breathing in the sense that humans would understand, where we use our lungs and a circulatory system to get oxygen to where it needs to go within our bodies. Fungi will break down food with enzymes outside of their bodies, taking in the resulting smaller molecules. These small organic molecules are then broken down with oxygen to generate energy within the cells. 34. Electrocommunication. Recent electrophysiology studies with fungus show that mycelial networks transmit millivolt-scale electrical spikes along hyphae. The curious thing is that these pulses vary in frequency and pattern, resembling rudimentary communication or coordination signals, a bit like fungal Morse code. There have been experiments which have found specific pulse patterns when fungus encountered wood or nutrients, and some claims of more complex communication patterns. These aren't signs of thoughts or evidence of higher consciousness. However, they are genuine bioelectrical phenomena which could help the fungus to distribute its resources or perhaps synchronize growth. 33. Rock eaters. Fungus helps to break down and churn up the world around us. Certain filamentous fungi exude organic acid and other compounds which can dissolve minerals from rock, freeing the elements contained within, or making up those rocks like calcium, iron, and phosphorus, using these biochemical processes to help turn rocks into soil. This process is known as biological weathering. There are fossils and other evidence of microscopic tunnels burrowed into basalt and granite by fungus. They can even eat iron. 32. Surviving the void. Fungal spores can be like microscopic fortresses. Their multi-layered cell walls can be incredibly resistant to UV radiation, desiccation, and vacuum. There have been experiments which have taken place on the International Space Station, as well as experiments hanging below stratospheric balloons, which have shown that fungal spores can still spring to life after weeks exposed to high-altitude cosmic rays or the vacuum of space. This revelation demonstrates the survival power of fungus and its ability to travel around the globe. Perhaps it could even be capable of surviving under certain conditions to travel between planets, finding a new home elsewhere in the solar system. 31. Fungal towers. 420 to 375 million years ago, long before trees, there were enormous trunk-like life forms which were estimated to have grown to 8 meters tall and 1 meter wide. These life forms are thought to have been giant prehistoric fungus known as prototaxites. These fungi broke down and consumed organic matter. Over recent years, there have been some questions about whether this really was a fungus or an organism from a completely unknown branch of life. Whether it'll be found that they weren't actually fungi. They were still curious life forms which would have looked alien at a time when the planet had no plant life taller than a few feet and no invertebrates on land, just small creatures like millipedes and worms. 30. raising from the ashes. There are certain fungi which thrive in the remnants of fire. They're often the first living things to re-emerge. These fungi are called pyrophilous or fire-loving fungi. They fruit prolifically on charred soil and wood, feeding on the heat-liberated carbon compounds. Their spores can withstand extreme heat, laying dormant until smoke chemicals or high temperatures trigger germination. These species help decompose burnt material and restart nutrient cycles. It's also thought that they help to bind and stabilize soil after forest fires via their extensive mycelial network. These fungi can play a role in reducing soil erosion and increasing moisture in soil soon after the fire. They also decompose charred material, capturing carbon and nitrogen, which can then be used by plants as they regrow. 29. Farming fungus. It isn't just humans who farm fungus. Millions of years before humans even thought to do this, insects learned to do it. For example, leafcutter ants feed cut leaves to cultivated fungus. The fungus digests cellulose, developing nutrient-rich, swollen nodules which serve as the main food source for the ants. Termites cultivate a specialized fungus for food. This fungus is grown on termite feces in the heart of their mounds. The spores of the fungus can survive digestion, so mix with consumed plant matter in the gut, creating fecal pellets which function like sowing a new fungal crop. Beetles also cultivate fungus as a primary food source for themselves and their young. 28. Carnivorous fungus. Not all fungus just consume decaying organic matter. Some can hunt live prey. Arthrobotrys oligospora, for example, will prey on nematodes, which are small worm-like creatures. When the fungus senses a nematode, it creates a sticky mycelium trap. It then lures the unsuspecting nematode with pheromones towards the trap. Oyster mushrooms can also be carnivorous. They'll produce a concoction of chemicals to paralyze nematodes, which they then consume. There are generally two types of carnivorous fungus: active carnivores, which create constricting rings to ensnare prey, and passive carnivores, which create adhesive traps including sticky knobs, nets, columns, and rings. 27. Zombie makers. This is quite common knowledge now, but still fascinating. Some fungi can create zombies out of their hosts. It's almost like they turn their infected host into a marionette puppet which is doing their bidding. These cordyceps fungi send out spores. When one of these spores ends up on a potential host, it attaches to and penetrates the exoskeleton before forming a scaffolding within and around the host's muscles, where it takes control of the host, directing its behavior. They don't seem to actually invade the brain, so it's like they're just taking over control of the body, taking that control away from the host itself. In ants, the fungus will direct them to leave their nest and eventually to climb up onto a branch, clamping its jaws into a leaf vein, assuming what's termed a death grip. The fungus continues to feed on the innards of its victim until it's ready to spread its spores. At this point, It pushes its fruiting body out through the base of the ant's head, raining spores down on the unsuspecting ants below. 26. Desert survivors. In some of the driest, hottest and coldest deserts on Earth, you can still find fungi. These fungi often live inside mineral grains and rocks. These endolithic fungi find their home in solid porous environments, within fissures of quartz or sandstone. They can find protection from the strong UV radiation and extreme temperatures. They can absorb minute traces of water and nutrients as they grow slowly, and their spores can often survive long periods of even harsher conditions by drying out and waiting for conditions to improve. 25. Fungal insecticide. The fly agaric mushroom derived its name from the fact that this fungus was used as an insecticide in parts of Europe, including the UK, Germany and Slovenia. The cap would be ripped up and mixed with milk and in some cases heated, creating a trap for flying insects. This fungus is thought to have first been described as being used as an insecticide in the 13th century. 24. Mycorrhizal highways. Mycelial threads don't just connect plants and transport nutrients, but they can also act as highways for bacteria, allowing microbes to travel along moist, hyphal surfaces through otherwise impassable dry soil. These pathways enhance microbial dispersal and can increase the biodegradation of pollutants by bringing bacteria and contaminants together. 23. Cloud seeding fungus. Cloud seeding is done by having microscopic particulates high up in the sky. Water vapor condenses and forms around these particles, forming clouds which can then create rain. People have been working at artificial cloud seeding for decades now to encourage rainfall where it's needed. However, nature has been doing this naturally for much longer. Biological aerosols, including fungal fragments and spores, can get sucked up en masse into the atmosphere, acting as the nuclei for condensation of water in clouds. This is especially the case above tropical forests. Each individual mushroom can release 30,000 spores a second, corresponding to billions of microscopic particles a day. It's estimated that 50 million tons of spores are dispersed into the atmosphere every year. 22. Carbon vaults. Fungi play a massive role in capturing carbon. Mycorrhizal networks and soil fungal biomass store an estimated 13 gigatons of carbon globally, comparable to the amount held in all terrestrial vegetation. When fungal tissue dies, its complex molecules resist decomposition, locking carbon underground for decades or centuries. This isn't the only role fungi plays in capturing carbon. Many fungi work symbiotically with plants, contributing significantly to carbon capture. They help to promote plant photosynthesis and increase biomass in host plants, as well as helping to increase transportation of carbon into the soil and decrease carbon leaving the soil. 21. The puffball's smoky breath. When a mature puffball fungus bursts, they can release trillions of spores in a single event. This spore cloud can look and behave like smoke, drifting on air currents for miles. Each spore is tiny, just a few microns wide, yet when gathered together in their trillions with their fellow spores, they can form visible plumes. Interestingly, the spectacle of these puffball explosions inspired folklore tales about ghostly smoke or fairy dust, appearing and rising mysteriously in and above woodland. Puffball mushrooms generally disperse their spores when impacted by raindrops and other natural impactors. I remember as a child the fun of gently prodding puffballs with a stick to watch the cloud of spores burst free. 20. The scent of desire. The aroma of truffles comes from volatile sulfur compounds. The compounds mimic mammalian pheromones, which could explain why pigs, dogs, and other mammals are drawn to them, and perhaps why humans often describe the smell as an earthy, musky, or sensual scent. These compounds attract wild animals, which help to spread their spores when the fruiting bodies are eaten and excreted. In nature, different scents and messages communicating to animals what to eat, what to be attracted to, and what to avoid, and truffles are like a desired delicacy worth digging through the undergrowth for. Truffles are often prized for their high nutritional value as antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiviral, and antimicrobial, to count a few benefits. 19. The magic of mushrooms. Psilocybin can alter sensory processing and the brain's default mode network. It alters serotonin receptors in the brain, leading to hallucinogenic effects and changes in perception, mood, and thought. Effects can include altered time perception, intensified emotions, and sometimes a feeling of connecting with the universe or something bigger than the self. Psilocybin has received a lot of attention over recent decades due to its potential therapeutic benefits. There is considerable growing evidence to support its use for treating various psychiatric and neurodegenerative conditions. Recently, there's also been research in mice showing that psilocybin extends cellular lifespan and so may also have geroprotective properties. Psilocybin has been linked to opening up the mind and giving users spiritual or mystical experiences, which, in some cases, have been transformative with long-lasting and profound changes. 18. Reindeer and the magic mushroom. In the 2002 BBC TV series Weird Nature, they shared how fly agaric mushrooms are a favourite food of reindeer, even foraging through snow to sniff out and uncover the red-capped mushroom. There are reports that reindeer would get high and behave strange after consuming the mushroom. However, in the documentary it stated that it is unknown whether the mushrooms have an effect on the reindeer or not. It's claimed that the lives of reindeer and Sami people have been entwined for thousands of years, and that fly agaric mushrooms have been important to both. It was claimed that Sami shamans would drink the urine of reindeers thought to be affected by fly agaric mushrooms as part of their visionary rituals. They would then contact the great reindeer spirit. Fly agaric would give the shaman heightened senses and create visions of flying. The documentary continues on that some think this could have contributed to flying reindeer myths connected with Santa Claus. This is something which has been heavily promoted over the years in the media, yet this is disputed and likely incorrect. 17. Fungal leather. Over recent years, there's been increasing pressure on the leather industry around the environmental impact it has and on ethical considerations. Fungal mycelium might be the answer. It can be woven into a soft, leather-like material which can be crafted into clothes, handbags, shoes and other leather items, while being biodegradable, renewable, affordable and carbon neutral. Currently, the idea of using fungus as an alternative for leather is in its infancy. There are some hurdles still to be overcome for it to really take off. For example, a benefit is that it is biodegradable. However, this also means that it's at greater risk of biological and chemical degradation. There are currently some stages which, if making it as much like leather as possible, involve the use of chemicals which then reduces the sustainability and increases the effect on the environment. It could be that this isn't as impactful as it is with leather. However, it would be a goal to make it sustainable and minimize any environmental impact. 16. The fungal cleanup. Fungi have a natural ability to break down complex hydrocarbons into less toxic compounds. This can make them a potential solution for cleaning up oil spills. Fungi break down hydrocarbons using extracellular enzymes. They secrete these powerful enzymes which then digest the oil, essentially using the oil as a food source for the fungi to grow and thrive. This significantly reduces the toxicity of the oil and can restore contaminated environments. Oil spills aren't the only environmental pollution which can be cleaned up by fungi. They have the ability to degrade and detoxify a large range of different pollutants. They can tackle organic pollutants as well as heavy metal pollutants. They also have the benefit that they are highly versatile. They can be used in various different environmental contexts, from soil to water and cleaning air. 15. Fungal packaging. Over recent years, there's been a move to make packaging more environmentally friendly. One option which has been growing in popularity is biofoams, made with fungal mycelium and waste biomass. Packaging made from fungi is a sustainable and viable alternative to regular packaging. It can be shock-absorbing, lightweight and sturdy with similar properties to typical packaging foams. These mycelium biofoams meet many of the specific structural and functional requirements for packaging, including being fire-resistant and having great thermal insulation. The structure of them can also be easily customized. 14. Living in a mushroom. Following on from the last fact about fungi being used in packaging, the same process is being used in construction, with the biofoams being lightweight, strong and fire resistant, and the ability to make the resulting biofoams more or less dense. Fungi can work well for acoustic panels, insulation blocks, and even the structure of buildings. Research looking to the future is exploring the possibility of engineering living materials which can self-assemble and repair themselves. The current process being researched for structures involves growing a scaffold of mycelium, then applying a bacteria to this scaffold. Together they form a hardened calcium carbonate structure, which in the future could be used in a similar fashion to concrete. 13. High-speed spores. Fungi have many ways to spread spores. One of those methods is with squirt guns. These are fluid-filled stalks that are pressurized, which release spores at up to 180,000 G and 25 meters per second, or 55 miles per hour. They need this high speed to propel the spores as far as they can. The fungi live in dung. They want to have their spores eaten by herbivores which don't particularly want to be eating food in dung piles. So the fungi shoots their spores at high speed to get them as far from the pile of dung as possible. By doing this, they increase the chances of animals eating the spores to continue the fungal life cycle. This high-speed propulsion system makes the spores perhaps the biological objects with the fastest acceleration known in nature. 12. Fungi on your face. Fungi are increasingly being used in the beauty industry in various skincare products because many have anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. They're thought to help with moisturizing and anti-aging. There's also research looking into whether fungi could replace some dyes in cosmetics. Snow mushrooms can help with hydration. Reishi and chaga mushrooms offer antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects. And there are filamentous fungi which can help with skin lightening, smoothing, and firming and moisturization. 11. Fungal feet. Never mind how well you think you wash. You might be surprised to learn that you probably have over 200 different types of fungi living on your feet. Fungi live all over your body. Most of these fungi are totally harmless and, in fact, some could be helpful to our health. Fungi's favorite places to colonize on your body are the heels of your feet, where you could find up to 80 different species of fungus. Between the toes, where there may be as many as 40 different species. And beneath toenails, where there could be upwards of 60 species. 10. Healing wounds. Mushrooms can help wounds heal faster. There's been research with extracts from the turkey tail mushroom which has found that skin cells grow and repair quicker. There's also a reduction in inflammation, as well as reducing bacteria that could cause infections. The mushroom extract also encouraged the body to build more collagen. In tests, wounds treated with the mushroom extract healed far more completely and left better-looking skin than wounds left to heal naturally. In the future, there could be creams or dressings made with this mushroom extract that could help heal cuts, burns, and surgical wounds, heal faster with less scarring. 9. The unknown fungus among us. There are about 155,000 fungal species known to science. However, there may be over 3.5 million species of fungus, based on the rates of new fungal species discovered per year, and the fact that discoveries of new fungal species aren't slowing down. So most species are unknown to science, yet perhaps 3/4 of these unknown fungi could be at risk of extinction. Fungi are found in a wide variety of locations, pretty much everywhere we look, from in soil to inside plants and animals, and even in rocks and floating in the atmosphere. Almost any time scientists take samples from somewhere, they find evidence of new species previously unknown. 8. Giving early plants a foothold on land. Fungi likely began to colonize the land perhaps 700 to 800 million years ago. This date preceded plants by perhaps a couple of 100 million years. When the first plants crept up onto the land, it's thought that they probably depended on fungi to help them to extract nutrients and water from the barren rock before they'd evolved roots. Fungi would have also helped to break down the barren rock, turning it into soil, making it easier for plants to put down their roots. There's a good chance that without fungi, plants may never have left the water, or at least could have taken significantly longer to find their foothold on land. 7. A fungal tale. Before fungi moved onto land, they lived in the vast expanses of water wrapped around the planet. Being aquatic, they had to move around, so they had small tails called flagella. Once they transitioned onto land, they no longer required this tail. In the present day, most fungi don't have a flagella. There are only some lower fungi which have flagellated spores called zoospores for motility in aquatic environments. These zoospores have a flagella with a microtubule structure which helps them to swim to find a suitable place to settle down and grow. It's thought that the loss of the flagella only happened once in fungi's evolutionary history, but that one time has led to most fungi today not having a flagella for any stage in their life cycle. 6. Fairy rings. For centuries, fairy rings have fascinated humankind. They've been at the heart of myths and legends, tales of fairies and spirits. Throughout European folklore, there are tales about fairy rings being created by fairies dancing, about these rings being dangerous portals to the fairy world. Stories would be told about how entering a ring could lead to getting trapped, or finding yourself dancing to exhaustion, or being whisked away into another dimension. Some tales warned of curses which could lead to death or invisibility. Some cultures believed that the rings were caused by witches dancing rather than fairies, and others still believed they were linked to dragons or the devil. The reality about the rings is something far more mundane. Fungus growing, often around the base of trees, spread out from the tree in a circular shape. When it's time to spread their spores, they sprout mushrooms. These mushrooms sprout around the outside edge of the circle of mycelium. As the fungi consumes the nutrients in the center of the ring, it has to spread out further to find more nutrients, so the ring continues to expand. Often the space within the ring has fewer nutrients because of this, so the vegetation inside the ring doesn't look as healthy as that outside of the ring. And frequently, there can be an increase in moisture and nitrogen around the edge of the ring, which can make vegetation like grass greener or fuller around the ring's edge. 5. Rapid growth. Fungi can grow rapidly. When the humidity and temperature are just right, the fruiting bodies or mushrooms can grow at over a centimetre per hour. The growth isn't from cells dividing like you might see with bacterial growth, but rather from cells inflating. They're taking in water and stretching their preformed cells like balloons. The rapid growth serves fungi well. It means that fungi can go from barely any presence and perhaps being dormant to as large as possible in a very short space of time, like perhaps taking advantage of a brief window of moisture to grow as much as possible before releasing as many spores as possible, and then drying out again when conditions stop being so favourable. 4. The smelly penis. There's a fungus which some Victorians were so embarrassed by they would attack them so that young impressionable ladies wouldn't see them. Sometimes these mushrooms are referred to as penis mushrooms, and have also been referred to as the prick mushroom and dead man's cock, but more commonly just the stinkhorn. Stinkhorn mushrooms can grow up to 25 centimetres tall. They emerge from an egg-like structure and can go from the egg to fully erect in as little as a few hours. It's one of the fastest growing mushrooms. When the egg is ready to fruit, it elongates until it ruptures, emerging with a cap which oozes a sticky gel containing yellowish-coloured spores that coat the cap, which smells like rotting flesh to attract flies and other insects that it relies on to spread its spores. 3. The mushroom and the orchid. Some fungi connect with non-photosynthetic plants like orchids to form a mutual relationship. The plants can tap into the fungal networks which link to nearby photosynthetic trees, where they siphon off carbon and nutrients from those trees, passing these on to the orchid. This relationship goes beyond a symbiotic relationship like mentioned before, because these orchids, especially early in their life cycle, usually rely entirely on the fungi for all nutrients and carbon. Because the seeds are so small, they virtually no energy reserve. Orchids which lack chlorophyll will rely on their relationship with the fungus for their entire lives. 2. Fungal fragrance. A large part of that sweet, earthy smell you experience when out walking in damp autumnal woodland comes from volatile organic compounds. Many of these sweet smells are given off by the fungi to attract insects and other creatures, which will help to disperse spores. One of the main compounds is 1-octan-3-ol, often referred to as mushroom alcohol. Many perfumers mimic this note in their products to evoke the scent of natural freshness, giving an odour description as powerful, herbaceous, earthy and hay-like, often used for lavender and fern notes, while listing it with the taste description as characteristic mushroom with metallic aftertaste, used for savoury flavours, especially mushroom. 1. Conflict and cooperation. Fungi have a variety of relationships with each other, sometimes harmonious, other times not so much. Within the soil, fungi may compete or fuse depending on compatibility. Some form somatic fusions to share resources, while others will create chemical boundaries to exclude rivals. These different behaviors create a dynamic interplay of conflict and cooperation, which helps to maintain biodiversity beneath our feet. Fungi can have thousands of different sexes. This means that they can mate with almost any other fungi of their species that they encounter. Fungi mate differently to humans. For fungi, they just need to rub up against each other, and if they're compatible, they can let their cells fuse together, exchanging their cells' nuclei and genetic information. This helps to spread genetic diversity. Fungi are fascinating. You may just think of mushrooms or mold and the part you can see. However, there's so much more to them which lies just beneath the surface. So as you close the pages on this topic, you can stand up from that relaxing chair. Place that book back on the shelf as we leave the library. Outside the library, we say our goodbyes as you head home and settle down so comfortably and peacefully in bed. And as your unconscious now absorbs this learning from today, you can drift so deeply and comfortably asleep with each breath you take, sleeping perfectly and soundly asleep all night long.